Don't worry about the image. Ready when you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are live from Court 1. I'll just get a signal from the Wombat booth, the Burrow. We are hearing and receiving signals in the booth. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, well, welcome to this, the Glory Moments on Day 7, the quarterfinals day. Joining me on the couch, I have Stuart Marley Parkinson.
Thank you very much for having me here again, guys. It's a pleasure to be here on Day 7 of this awesome comp.
Yes, and David, I don't know, the Witch Parkinson? Oh, David the Witch Parkinson. David the Witch Lambert? Warlock Lambert.
Hocus Pocus.
So,
I've
guys,
never seen a warlock wearing a hat like that, mate.
Amen.
I just want to have a quick look to start with at the ladders and just a quick comparison of the seedings this tournament to last tournament and how things are running, and then we'll get stuck into a couple of the quick games from today. If I can find the under-19 women's to start with, that would help. Under-19 men's, under-19... All right, I've printed the under-23 women's out twice. It's a good start.
You are having a good time with those sheets the last couple of days.
I'll do a bit of magic here.
My paperwork is just not going well.
We'll just start talking about one of the other divisions.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm going to do. What, do you want to host the show, Stu? Here you go.
No, just lead from the front, mate.
All right, so Stu, let's skip that. Let's go to the under-19 men's. Looking at the way the ladder finished out in the under-19 men's division. Let me just sort my sheets here. Abracadabra, under-19 women's. Beautiful. So, under-19 men's. This time around, the standings have ended up. France, GB, New Zealand, Colombia, Australia, South Africa, Argentina, USA, and Canada. France and GB actually tied on the top there. Went to head-to-head. They drew in the round robin 0-0, so went to goals against. And only a 3-goal difference there between them, with France conceding 2 and GB conceding 5. If we look at the under-19 men's at the end of the round robin from last time, it's been a fair shake-up there, where previously it was New Zealand, France, Colombia, GB, South Africa, Australia, the Netherlands, Italy, USA, and Canada. So the French staying near the top there, but the Colombians dropping down a bit on the table, and GB coming up a long way. A good performance from the GB under-19 boys this tournament.
Absolutely. It goes to show that the dedication back home and some of the leadership by the senior players helping them out, and it's all starting to pay off, Nick.
And the Kiwis dropping down a few spots from last time. Rest of the world catching up there, Stu?
Yeah, actually unexpected from the Kiwi lads. So, I mean, obviously GB playing a really nice brand of hockey. I'm not too surprised about the French under-19 boys, but I am a little bit surprised that the Kiwi lads dropped down a couple of spots. So it'd be interesting to see if they can bring it home and make it happen in the finals.
Yeah, so then looking at the games today, to start up with, we've got the North American continental battle there, with Canada taking on USA in a 9 versus 8 to decide who makes it into that top 8 for the quarterfinal playoff there. So that'll be an interesting game straight up, Dave. The Canadian boys, mate, the home country, you going to be barracking away there?
In the commentary booth, we take no sides, but we take no prisoners.
Yeah, no.
They've eaten a little bit of maple syrup just to get the maybe a little bit of bacon on it as well, just to get a little bit extra energy this morning.
I looked at the caps I had in the closet, and they were all Canadian-born. There were no U.S. ones. But this is finals hockey. I've seen the Canadian boys have grown through this tournament, and so have the U.S. boys. So anything can happen today.
Yeah, I think it'll be a big game there this morning. And then as we move into the proper round of 8 quarterfinals, we've got Great Britain versus Argentina. Argentina's shown a lot of spirit, but that GB team looking fit and strong. Probably the tight games in there for me today. New Zealand versus South Africa, game 164 at 12:40. That'll be a really tough one, Stu.
Yeah, it will be. If I was to bet which one would go, I'd say the Kiwis will probably get up, but it's going to be a close one. Maybe 1 or 2 goals in it, I reckon.
Prediction from you?
Yeah,
Dave?
I'm taking the South Africans on this one because I've seen them grow through this tournament. I think they can, in this sort of finals hockey, they'll outmatch and push the Kiwis about too much.
Yeah, they really finished strong last night against the French in what was a hard contest and probably a good building game for the finals, I think, for them. So, in my mind, yeah, I think it'll be really tight, but I think South Africa may be 3-2 in that one for me. The other tight one in this division will be the Australia-Colombia game, 160.
Check Sportsbet. I saw Bet have them 2-1 here.
Game 166 at 140, the Colombians versus the Australians in the under-19 is that's going to be a battle to the wire, I reckon, Stu.
Yeah, that one's really going to come down to it. And, I mean, the Colombians obviously performing on the scoreboard and in the results better than the Aussies up until this point. But a very close game between those two countries last time. And, I mean, obviously I'm going to back the Aussies because we all know what kind of brand they can play when they're pressed.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to who establishes early dominance in the pool. I think given the amount of game times and the growth the Australians had to do, I'm backing them as well. I think the Colombians have sort of hit the straps early in the piece, and they're sort of leveling off, where the Australians are on a very steep incline, and I think they're going to get over them today.
Yeah, look, 4-3 to Australia for me, that one will be. So that's going to be an absolute cracking game. And then the last game in the under-19 men's, France versus the winner of that Canada-US game. It'll be a tough game, but I really see the French getting up in that one. They've just been so strong and consistent throughout the tournament so far. So we'll go to the women's 19s, which is the division we were missing earlier. Let me just get rid of that one because I don't get confused anymore, Stu.
That's your filing method. I really enjoy it.
So the under-19 women's, looking at the seedings, not a lot of change there. South Africa and France switching over from Castellon, where South Africa were finishing top of the table at the end of the round robin. This time it's the New Zealanders clear on top there. And then as we look down, South Africa, Australia, Colombia, the US of A, GB and Canada this time around. Last time we had South Africa, New Zealand, France, Colombia, GB, Australia, Canada and the Netherlands. So not actually a lot of changes in the under-19 women's division. As we look at the games coming up there for us today, they've got a bit of a split game today with only having 7 teams and having played a double round robin. They've got a shorter, abridged version of finals. So only 3 games happening there today, where we've got Canada and GB this morning in a 7th place playoff, and then Australia playing off against the winner of that game, and Colombia playing off against the USA. But for me, the finals hockey is always going to be tough, but I really think the dominant performance from the Colombians and the Australian girls so far will see them getting through, Stu.
Yeah, I mean, it is really tight in this division. And where did you say the French ladies were finishing off on the ladder?
So at the last World, the French ladies finished 3rd in the under-19s, and in the under-19 women's this year, we have no French team. So.
Oh, yeah, that'd be why. Sorry, I got confused. I think you said France there and then went one.
Yeah, no, so France played last time in Castellon, but
right,
no
okay.
French team travelling in. They've got 3 teams this year. And nothing.
Gotta move the dreadies out of your ears, mate.
Yeah, true. I'm just getting used to being stoned all the time. But so I mean, I reckon as you said there, the Kiwis are standout performers so far in this division. Everyone else kind of dragging the chain a little bit, in my opinion. So. It's up to the rest of the teams to knock those Kiwis off in the finals. They're going to be hard to beat. Yeah,
it's been a well-earned rest for those girls today as well, playing 3, each team having 2 days of 3 games a day. That's a big ask at Worlds, Dave.
Anytime's asked for any teams, and especially with the under-19 girls. But, I watched them, and they while they looked like they were fatiguing later in the games, they were sort of holding their own in all of it. So, I'm still backing the Kiwis in this division, but it's going to be pretty close.
Paris and Phoenix, mate.
There you go. The Phoenix is burning.
Just the lightning strikes, just going everywhere real
at
quick.
Least we're not going to have to put up with any more Whitney Houston playing over. I don't think we're going to get those kind of results.
You can never tell.
I have got the final countdown ready to go today if required. So we'll switch to the under-23 ladies now, and looking in that division, the standings at the end, New Zealand in 1, and then followed by South Africa, Colombia, GB, France, Australia, Argentina and Canada. Looking at the breakdown from last year, at the end of the round robin, we had the Netherlands, GB, Colombia, New Zealand in 4th, and then Australia, Spain, Turkey and Canada. So we're missing a few teams this time around, but we've got a few new additions there. Obviously the Dutch, the big omission, but the Kiwis jumping 4 spots in the rankings from last ladder to this ladder, Stu.
Yeah, I mean, from a consistency point of view, I think the Kiwis across the board have performed in the round robin better than any other country. So credit to them, and in this division, it's no different. So not surprisingly, they've brought some very strong teams across the ditch this year.
Yeah, and look, they've put in twice as many goals as any other team in that division, Dave. So they're obviously dangerous in that goal tray.
Absolutely, but they're pretty close on goals against across the board. And don't forget, we're just separating here South Africa and New Zealand by just 1 win. The New Zealand did get up over South Africa, but it was a tight ding-dong battle, and I expect to see another one today. I think the interesting ones are in the middle of the table, Nick.
Yeah, and we'll get to have a look at those fixtures now. So looking at the under-23 women's, the games we've got in there, I think the New Zealand-Canada game, that's going to be a tough game for the Canadian girls. The GB France in the next of those quarterfinals is going to be a really interesting game, with that only being a 3 3-1 victory to GB in the round robin, but the French really building towards the end there, Stu.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's always a tight contest between the GB and France teams, regardless of which division, they meet each other in. This one's going to be no different. I mean, looking at the way that the French have been performing, they've been performing very strong. And progressing through this competition, they've been getting better and better at breaking down other teams' structures and really containing the play. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do that here today.
Yeah, I think that'll be a cracker. I think probably for me, the French will get up in that one. They've just been building towards the end here. Dave, prediction from you?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with Great Britain on this one because they've been consistent through it. I also think that, I've seen the French team collapse under that pressure, and I'm putting bets on that, if the GB start off strong and dominate, and the French will just crumble under that pressure.
Yep, it's an interesting prediction. Obviously controversial going against the captain, but look, we'll let that one roll. Game 161, South Africa versus Argentina. Argentina showing a lot of spirit, but I think the South Africans will probably just be a bit strong there. They've really been a dominant performance for them in the first time we've had an under-23 ladies South African team. And then game 162, the game we're all looking forward to. The defending world champions Colombia coming up against the local girls Australia there. Dave, predictions for this one?
Yeah, look, it's hard to go past the Colombians with their excitement and their energy, but this is finals hockey. Anything could happen, and I'm going to back the Australians just because I think they've got a lot of the heart. I mean, the Colombians have heart, but the Australians always bring the heart to the games, and I'm going to throw a little magic down there, and hopefully the girls can come up.
Yeah, look, I'm going to do that as well, Dave, mostly because if I don't, when I get home, their coach, my fiancée, is probably not going to speak to me, so I'll back the Australians. Stu, you can be more impartial here. You're married to a Colombian. You are Australian, so I think yours is probably the most confident bet.
I could go either way here. I'm just going to get my intelligent hockey head out for a second here and leave my page.
There is one?
And leave
you
my
got
page
your
behind the beers and the
It's
floating.
usually hiding
Hey,
behind
man.
my left ear, so I'm just going to take that out and tuck it inside my eardrum just for a second and say that I actually reckon the Colombians will get up and come out on top. In a very tight, hard-fought game, but based on the sort of hockey I've been seeing the two teams play, the Australian ladies are going to have to come up with something that they haven't yet performed with in this comp to beat the Colombians. So credit to them if they do that, but based on previous performance in this comp in particular, Colombians for me.
Yeah, and I think one of the big stat there that's the difference in the under-23 ladies ladder between those two teams, Colombia have put in 27 goals and the Australian girls 17. So they've shown they can score goals. I think if Australia can keep the Colombians out, then that'll be the difference. But if the Colombians get one or two and get a run on, then I think they will run away with it. But
It's going to be tight. It's going to be
very
tight.
tight. Oh, God. As we see the Canadian boys warming up on the far side over here and doing their team chant. So now we'll get into the last of the divisions to be sorted in the quarters today, which is the under-23 men's. Clear top of the tables there, Turkey coming out on top in number one, followed by New Zealand, France, Colombia, Australia, South Africa, GB, Argentina, the US of A, and Canada.
Nice accent, man.
Looking at the changes from last time, it's quite a big switching in the ladder. The Australians that were first at the last Worlds at the end of the ladder are now fifth. Colombia that was second, now sitting in fourth. Turkey that finished third are now on top. So a lot of changes around in the seating there, Stu.
Yeah, there is. Obviously leading the table, absolute lightning rods, these Turkish guys. And I really hope, as they did in the Kiwi game, they show us the best of what they've got. And I think for them, critical that they keep all their players in the water as much as possible. And for mine, if they can establish a lot of attacking pressure around the outside of whatever team they're going to play as they cruise through this final series, they're going to be a hard team to beat. But counter to that, if the other teams can really stop them from getting runs on, as in gaining space around the outside of the structure that they're playing against, they're going to have a hard time of it. So it'll be interesting to see how the Turkish guys go. And
I did hear a rumour, Dave, that the Turkish guys have imposed you get kicked out, it's $100 a minute for sitting in the bench on the side as a player penalty to try and encourage the guys to focus on what's going on.
Well, that's a good strategy. Look, it may cost a lot of money, But it's a good strategy. Are we getting any cut for the video?
Yeah, look,
on
I
that?
think really if probably 50% of that got donated to the streaming coverage. Judging off the 57 minutes so far, that'd be a cheeky, couple of grand that we could throw in there.
That has got to be the largest fine I've ever heard of for
It's
a
only
sin bin
rumour.
infringement.
I don't have 100% confirmation,
It's
but I
a
heard it from
rumour,
a very good,
definitely.
very good source.
Boys, just give us half of those fines. Like, get in that sin bin and give us all the money in the donation box, please.
They only win with 3 in the bin too.
Yeah, so there's 3 tough games in that under-23 men's. I think Argentina's going to have a really tough time against Turkey to get over that one. But the 3 really close, tough ones for me, and I'll link them in order. New Zealand versus GB. I think the Kiwis will get up in that one, but I actually think that'll be a harder battle than what it looks like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't want to go there, but I'm going to. Last year in Stellenbosch, Kiwi versus GB, there was an upset. So we know it's possible. Kiwi lads have obviously been playing very well, but it can happen.
And look, I think the GB coach, Fletcher there, he was actually on the end of some ribbing from the New Zealand boys in the last quarterfinals in the elites, which is what helped inspire the GB guys to get up from a 4-0 deficit. So I have a fairly strong feeling that this New Zealand team's not going to fall into that same trap of maybe dishing out some verbals too early in the game. So for me, I think the Kiwis will get up. But
Well, particularly when the Kiwi Whisperer, a.k.a. Matt Hart, a.k.a. Dadbod, is their coach.
yeah. There'll be
keeps them
no
pretty
schoolboy
tiled down.
comments in this game, I don't think, as it'll be a long time before we see a Kiwi team make a comment like that again, I reckon. The next in these, it's the next tight one, I think, will be the French-South Africa game. Dave, the French strong on the wall. The South Africans looking for that open court.
Yeah, I think the French need to work harder at that open court. South Africa, if they get any opportunities, they're going to come in numbers and they're going to be hard to stop. I'm putting my money on the South Africans on that one.
Yeah, and you, Stu?
What teams were we talking about again?
France, South
and
Africa, under
France.
23 men's.
Ooh, tough. South Africa, by a goal.
Oh, controversial call. And then the last one, obviously the most exciting game of the day, Colombia versus Australia in the men's 23s. Dave?
Wow, exciting game. I'm backing the Australians because they've been starting to get their, I'll say it loud, sorry for the language, they'll start getting their shit together.
Yeah, it's about time. Stu, Colombia, Australia, men's
I'm parking
23s.
my intelligence to the side here. I'm just going with patriotism, Australia, the whole way.
Yeah, look, and given that I coach them, I should probably tip my team to win, so I'll go Australia on that one. The streaming guy behind me is freaking out that we've been talking for too long. Massive day of hockey going on here, guys. Tune in, enjoy the games, donate if you're getting into it. Stu, thanks for joining us on the couch.
Thank you very much for having me.
Dave, we'll catch you for a wrap-up this afternoon, and good luck in the commentary booth.
Absolutely. Abracadabra, we're going to the booth.
That's all from the Glory Moments. We'll see you on the Glory Days tonight.